welcome to City Conversations. Today we have with us Michael Gibson, our Parks and Recreation Director, really here to talk about all of the information that we have about our Parks and Recreation Department. We've got 18 Parks and Recreation Centers across the city, as well as many parks, and 150 employees to run all of that out of our 1,600 employees in the city. And Michael does a lot with his staff to provide for the recreation ability for our city. So with us today again, Michael, welcome.
Thanks
for being here.
I appreciate it.
Pleasure to have you on board.
Thank you so much for having us.
Before we start talking about what you do, tell me about how long you've been with the city for.
Well, I've been here about 30 years. 30
Holy
years.
Cow,
yeah,
30 years.
Yeah, been here a while. Ever since I graduated from Fayetteville State.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's quite an accomplishment.
Exactly.
You're one of the older, more senior guys here.
I'm telling you, yep.
And did you start in Parks and Recreation?
Yeah, I did. One of the things happened when I graduated from Fayetteville State. Miss Gilmore, who was the park superintendent, said, "If you graduated, I'll give you a job." So I had a little pressure on me, and when I graduated, I started working as an assistant director. I had worked as a camp counselor before, but she said if I graduated, then I could have a full-time job. So. She allowed me to do that, and then I started out as an assistant director in the rec center.
That's pretty darn good.
I thought so.
Yeah. That's a great success story.
I'm telling you, my mom and them thought I did. Yeah. It was. So yeah, I could get a regular check.
Well, hey, before we start talking about all the great things, what I did want to remind our audience of is that they can always go to your website,
yes,
fcpr.us,
exactly,
and check out all of the great services that you guys offer, and so that's really really a great thing to see. Yeah. I see actually in the background here we've got the Christmas in the Park, which is coming up soon.
Oh yes, definitely.
But this website, I know we redesigned about a year ago now,
and we appreciate the work that you guys did with that. It helps people navigate better. It gives them a lot more opportunities to click on the things faster, so you don't have to stroll through a whole lot of stuff. So having that thing updated was our website was a major thing for us.
Yeah, and I think one of the things to point out too to residents is that it's mobile friendly, and so
yes,
they can actually use this on their phone, which is really about where we get about 60% of our hits from folks coming in looking for information from the city. Most of it comes from mobile.
Oh man,
and
that's
so
perfect.
That's a very helpful thing. But if we see scrolling through here, if you're looking for information on where a park is at or the services that are offered, this is a great place to start. I wanted to move into too that the next thing really is one of the great things that you all just did here recently was starting online registration.
I'll tell you, I mean, we have been working on this for about 2 or 3 years. It's such an important thing now with the way people's lives are. And having to always go into a rec center and register your child for programs, having to always go into a rec center and rent a room or rent a shelter, it was becoming cumbersome. And being able for the center staff not to have to deal with walk-up traffic all the time gives them an opportunity to do other things in the rec center. So, you know, us moving into that environment where people can register online has been huge for our department as well as the city.
Now, I understand before they start using the online registration, they do have to come in once the first time?
Well, and you have to create your household.
Okay.
And one of the biggest things with that is some of our sporting activities have zones. So you want to make sure that you're living in the right zone, you're registering in the right zone. So once that household is created, then your ability to register online or not have to come back to the rec center unless you're practicing or you're renting a room and you come back in, then that level of ease becomes available to you.
Sure. Well, that certainly is a great service that you all offer.
Oh man, let me tell you something. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
Big deal.
So it's a lot easier. As you said, in this day and age, people expect to be able to do things quickly and on their phones.
And if parents forget to register their child and they're sitting at their desk, they can just go right online, put their child into a sport or an activity, and not have to worry about dashing out after work to go register them or using their Saturdays to go register them. They can do it right online.
Right.
Which is perfect.
That is good. Now, before we talk about some of the parks and the other things that you've got to offer, I think one thing that people don't understand is all of the other things that you do. So your staff of 150 plus full-time and 150 plus part-time employees.
Depending on the season.
Yeah, they do a lot of different things.
We do a lot of different things. One of the things that happens is that the way that our Parks and Recreation Department is set up, I have sort of purview over building maintenance, right-of-way maintenance, which include a lot of different things. And when we talk about right-of-way maintenance, that's the beautification of our gateways, making sure that the trash is picked up. One of the things that happens inside of right-of-way maintenance is leaf season. And then with building maintenance, we have about 150 to 200 city-owned buildings that we manage to make sure that they're up to par. So we have a lot of different moving parts within our organization.
And leaf season, as we're seeing here on the screen now, is one that I know is near and dear to
yes,
a lot of people's hearts.
A lot of people's hearts. I mean, and we're in that season. And what we try to do is make sure that people understand when their 2-week period is, where we come through their zip codes and pick up. And one of the things we try to make sure that they understand, and we'll put out stickers on trash cans. We'll do the signs on the right-of-way so people can ride by them and see that their zone is being picked up. But is to not mix them, not mix the leaves with branches. One of the biggest things PWC likes to make sure that we understand is tell the parents, the residents, not to put the leaves over their water meter, because the suction machine that you can see on the screen right now will just suck the lid right off.
Right.
And not to cover storm drains or cover the sidewalk. We have a good enough reach where we can pull right up to it and reach over and get them. So having those rights of way not blocked, or having your leaves right over the storm drains, storm water, it's not a good thing.
Right.
So we try to get those messages out as quick as we can.
Yeah, that's definitely a powerful machine.
It
I've
is a
watched
powerful
that in action,
machine.
and,
Yes, it is.
It's
Yes,
also
it is.
great too that the service that we offer, because I know a lot of municipalities don't have leaf season pickup.
And it allows the residents to get their yards clean. And we also now, just to make sure that everybody, because some people still like the bag, but at every fire station and every rec center, if you want to go by and just get up bags and you want to put yours in bags, we provide free bags at all the rec centers and the fire stations. And the resident can just go up to one of those 2 facilities and get bags. And if they want to bag them, they're clear so that we can see exactly what's in them. And they'll be picked up on your regular yard waste day. So you don't really have to wait for leaf season to come by and suck them up if you just want to bag them.
Sure. Well, that's very helpful.
I thought so.
I can't wait for leaf season to get here.
I can.
You can?
Yeah, I'll tell you.
So let's get into some of the sports that you all talk about, really the heart and soul of Parks and Recreation Department. Tell me about some of the programs that you all offer, because I know it's a long list.
Well, I mean, we do normally the big 3. Which is baseball, basketball, and football. We offer track and field. Some of the things that we're getting into now is lacrosse. We do a little bit of rugby. We do indoor soccer. We do outdoor soccer. Now one of the biggest things that we've been allowed to do is, since we've been building pools, is that now we can offer swimming, which we haven't been able to do in this organization for the last 10 to 15 years, but now we can.
Right.
So those are some of the sports that we do throughout the year. Whenever the seasons come in, we also do some non-traditional sports as far as when they're played, as far as football, doing the summertime or summer league basketball or summer league football or summer league or winter baseball. So we try to make sure that if people are interested in it, that option is there.
And this is also for county residents. You're
Yes.
a county and city
Well,
department.
that's one of the biggest things too, and we probably should have said that a little earlier, that we do, our organization is definitely called Fayetteville-Cumberland Parks and Recreation. And what we do is we manage the county's recreational program, which we call the district, which is comprised of Linden, Falcon, Godwin, Wade, Stedman, and Eastover, in the unincorporated areas. Hope Mills and Spring Lake, they have their own organizations, and we call that the Fayetteville-Cumberland Parks and Recreation, and we manage their system the same way that we manage our system.
Well, that's very important for folks to know.
Exactly, definitely.
And I understand too that the Fort Bragg residents, those who live on the base, are actually eligible for these programs.
Yes, they are. And one of the things that we do too is with them is we work with the MWR. They try to have their programs on post, but when they don't have enough kids to fill those particular sports, if they're in a particular age group, then we work with them to bring those kids in or those teams in, and we place them as close as we can to the post, and then they're more than welcome to use the facilities and introduce the program.
So the audience, again, city folks, county folks, folks on Fort Bragg, and even outside the county, they might have to pay a little bit more, but they're still welcome to come in.
A couple of years ago, the Board of Commissioners and the City Council approved a non-residency fee. which allows people who live on our borders, if they want to participate in an activity or rent a facility or play sports or whatever, they can do that, but they have to pay at a higher price. So if a program like, say, football is $25 and you live outside the county, you have to pay $50. And you have to go to the closest recreation center nearest your home. You can't drive by something to get to another side. So, but it gives those people who sit right on there, and we have Harnett County, Hope County, Robertson County, Harnett County that sit right on our borders. In some ways where the developers build right on that line, it gives them an option to either participate in this county, or they still have that other option of going into where they live. So we wanted to give them that opportunity. So that's
and since they're not paying city taxes or county taxes,
exactly.
that's only appropriate that they pay a little bit more.
They have to, they have to pay a little bit more.
Sure. So let's talk a little bit about the parks and the recreation centers. We've got 18 across the city and the county, so that's a huge number.
There's a lot of them, and I mean they range from where Stony Point Rec Center is all the way over to Stedman Rec Center, and then you have College Lakes, Smith Rec Center, Cliffdale, Westover. Email. There are a bunch of them. We even have a special needs center over on Purdue Drive, the Gilmore Youth Center, that caters to special needs. So we run the gamut. Now we even have Clark Park, which that's a nature center that gives kids who are into the nature, wildlife, an opportunity to experience that and understand how to use it better. So we have a lot of different rec centers.
And I go back to the website we talked about earlier, fcpr.us, or on the city's app. If they downloaded the city's app, all of these sites are easily listed on there.
Definitely.
So
every
it's
one
easy
of them.
to find.
Address, everything.
Yep.
And there's also a list of activities that you can do at each one of those rec centers.
That's a great point.
Because some of them are a little eclectic based on the communities that they're in, so it allows parents to have a little bit of a different flavor if they choose to.
So you've got 18 rec centers, but you also have a lot of parks.
Yes, we do. We have over 100 parks.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
100 parks.
Yeah,
and
there's
so
a lot of them.
What levels do they hit at?
It all depends on it. I mean, we have some as small as green spaces where people just want to go and sit on a bench and sit up under a tree, to a regional park like an Arnett or Lake Rim or Masrick, to community parks or just basic neighborhood parks where you just might have a shelter, a playground unit, and just an open field that kids want to just run around in. So we have that gamut depending on how much activity parents want to involve their kids in, or how many your young people just might want to just sit around and have conversation. So we run that gamut.
Sure. And again, they can always go to the website or to the city's app and figure out what assets
and click
are out
onto
there.
it and see what region they're in, or what part of the city or what part of the county they're in, and that facility will be as close as we can get it to them.
Okay, well, that's good to know.
Yep.
And pools, I think we talked a little bit about that before we started here today. We've got a bunch of pools. Tell me about your pools.
Well, I'll tell you what, council was very serious about quality of life. And for about 35 or 40 years, we only had one pool in this community of over 200,000. All of a sudden, we got serious and we started building. Westover was our first, and we went into College Lakes area and built a pool. And we have the Smith pool, and now council has approved another pool to be built out at Lake Rim. And what they're play areas, and then you have that competition area where you have either a 6-lane or 8-lane pool. Those facilities now act as dual purposes. It allows us to have swim teams, but they're very nice. And with council saying that they wanted the best, and that's what we've done, is just to create those opportunities for people to use them. And let me tell you, in this climate, during the summertime, it can be 100 degrees for 3 weeks straight.
Right.
So they are used.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, 4 pools across the city is a pretty good thing to have.
It's a very good thing to have.
And I know recently here in the last several months, we've even gotten covers for several of the pools. So what does that do for us?
Well, what we did is in the designing phase of it, we decided that if we ever wanted to cover them so that we could extend the life and the use of the pool throughout the year, that we would design them where you could cover them. Council saw fit the past year to fund that covering and now we have them covered where it's just a basic blow-up that's supported by air, but it allows them, and the pools are heated, so it allows those people who use or who, you know, what they do is swim, allows them to use those pools throughout the year. And that's been a great thing for us now. We worked out some of the kinks of it because supporting facilities or structures with air can be a little tricky. But I think over the past couple of weeks we've worked on it and understand what these things do, and sort of not say beaten them, but we've come together with them and understand how they operate.
Well, I know the parents and the kids on swim teams will greatly appreciate
that. Oh yes, I mean we've gotten some tremendous comments about having that opportunity, just like with football or basketball or track and field, for kids to enjoy what they choose to do year round.
Right. I remember many times here when we first arrived to Fort Bragg and Fayetteville, where my son and daughter were both in 2 different schools, and they were swimming at FSU right here. But it was at 5 o'clock in the morning on a school day.
Exactly.
And so that was because everybody was coming here because there was only a select number of indoor pools they could use. And so having these covers on these pools really opens that opportunity up for those in the school swim team programs to be able to go to other places.
From a director standpoint, having the council, city manager be, you know, to stretch themselves to figure out how we get that done, to give us that ability, it's a big deal for me, and my staff that we can offer that. So having that is,
I know it's greatly appreciated.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes,
so let's shift from pools to some trails.
All right.
The Cape Fear River Trail is something that's a big deal here in the city that I think a lot of people know about.
Right.
And 8 miles of continuous trail, or soon to be continuous.
Yes, exactly right.
And let's talk about the bridge. Tell us about the bridge that's recently been approved to go in over on the Cape Fear Trail.
Well, and what that means is starting at the Jordan Soccer Complex, a person can go there and park and get out of the car, and they can walk roughly for about 3.5 to almost 4 miles. We added a section where we call it the Moses Mathis trailhead down at Clark Park, where that connects into the piece that comes from the Jordan Soccer Complex. But you can probably go another 1.5 miles, but you had to stop because the CSX Railroad comes through there. Well, the only way that you can do that is either you turn around and go back and then you're done, or you go up under it. Well, getting them to let you stick a trail up under their track, it's not an easy thing. We have been working on it, the organization has been working on it for probably about 15 to 20 years to get this done. And over the last year, we've put everything together, and they've given us the ability to work in their right-of-way to build under it. And now you can connect a piece and it'll take you right into the Botanical Garden, or right now we're connecting another piece called the Linear Park Connector Trail that you'll be able to hang a right and come into the downtown environment, all the way to downtown Fayetteville. So having that connector under the CSX Railroad now gives us probably about 8 to 12 miles of trails that people now can use on the northern side of town to come all the way into town.
It really is a very special and unique feature that I think to have here in the city.
It is. And one of the other things I want to also add that too is that we have a greenways plan, and we're working on that feverishly every year. And you can go onto the website and check out our greenways plan of how we're trying to develop a walkable community where people don't have to use cars. They can use their bikes or they can walk, and this greenway system connects it into all of through our river system, and all of it ends up in the same place. So hopefully we'll continue to add more trails, more systems to that band, and get people from the northern side of town, the southern side, the western side, all to be able to travel or traverse this community without cars, and develop that walkable community.
Well, I just want to encourage too those, and I keep repeating the city app and the city website and fcpr.us website. For those who have not experienced this trail, we've got some great videos and some maps out there that show people what this looks like. So if you have not been there, I would encourage folks to go take a look at it.
And it changes, you know, when the leaves fall, it gets a little bit more open. When the leaves come back on, it gets a little bit more closer. But it is a different environment, though.
So as we wrap up here today, Michael, let's talk about the $35 million Parks and Recreation bond that was passed almost 2 years ago.
Exactly.
And so we've got some activity moving on that.
Yes, we do.
We've got to finish this within, what, 7 years,
Exactly.
I think, total. So there's a timeline on when we get things done. But what have we done so far, and what are we still doing, and how is that working out?
Well, one of the things that what we've completed is 3 splash pads. We're working right now, and that's over at the Kiwanis Rec Center, Myers Rec Center, and Massey Hill, which added 3 more splash pads to an existing one that we already had at Spivey. So we have 4. We're going to be adding another one, special needs, over at the Gilmore Center, that gives kids who have some challenges to be able to use those facilities better. Right now we're working on the skate park. We're working on the Senior Citizen West. It's about a 6-acre facility that overlooks Lake Rim Lake. We went into an agreement with the North Carolina Wildlife to lease us 22 acres, and we're building that 19,000 square foot facility, which has a warm water pool in it. A lot of our seniors now have to use Fayetteville State in the morning. So we're trying to eliminate that, not so that they'll have more opportunities and they don't have to get up so early in the morning. But that facility is going to be a beautiful thing. The skate park, the council has given us direction to use the front half of Rowan Street Park, and we're doing the soil testing now. We have a designer on board who is going to be mocking up some facilities or some sketches that gives us an opportunity to see what that looks like. We're working with the baseball stadium to have a park, play area inside the baseball stadium. So there's a multitude of things that we're working on now with the bond. We're working with not Fayetteville State, but we are working with Fayetteville State, but we're working with Fort Bragg on a facility out there for our sports complex to see what that looks like. We're having conversation with Methodist College in the Jordan Soccer Complex to see if we can upgrade that facility. We're also working with Fayetteville State, as I said before, about Senior Citizen East to see how that works, because they have to build a wellness center and see how we work together to extend taxpayer dollars in that environment. So there's a ton of stuff we're doing, and hopefully all of it meshes and we find value in everything that we're trying to work on.
Sure. Well, that was certainly great that the residents passed this bond almost 2 years ago, and I think it's important to know that splash pads are being built, that this rec center, the senior rec center that we just cut the ribbon on for groundbreaking on about a couple months ago here, is moving forward, and it really takes time to make this stuff happen.
Well,
you can't just do it overnight.
Well, and you have challenges, and we found a challenge over at the Senior Citizen West that we're working through with another entity within the community, and if that comes to fruition, that'll be another big savings for our community. So in finding partners to extend that money as much as we can and to save as much as we can without just doing things, it takes a little bit of time, but hopefully when we come out on the back end, we believe that we will have done what the citizens and what council wanted us to do, is make these lifestyle facilities better.
Sure.
So that's where we're headed at.
Well, that's good, and it's good to see there's a plan. I think one thing I always say is you never want to rush to failure.
Exactly.
And so you want to take your time and do things right. And again, we are beholden to that 7-year plan in terms of our bond. So it has to be done.
It has to be done.
But it will be done right.
And that's the biggest thing. We want to make sure that the citizens understand that we appreciate what they've done by giving us that extra tax, and we want to make sure that everything that we do, they're proud of.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, you all certainly do a lot. For 150 full-time employees, you've got your hands in a lot of different places and a lot of different pots.
Exactly.
To serve our citizens.
But I got some talented people that work for me now. I mean, let me tell you something. Sometimes I try to stay out their way and make sure that a little bit of guidance, a little bit of understanding, and let talented people do talented things.
Right. And it's special too, back to the beginning of the show, where you've been there and done that. You've been in a lot of different roles within your department, so you understand what your folks do, how they do it, and I think that probably lends itself to a well-managed team.
I hope it does.
Well, thanks for joining us today, Michael, and sharing everything with us.
I appreciate you letting me have this conversation.
Yeah, Parks and Recreation. And again, tell folks to go to fcpr.us. Or go to the city's website or download our app. There's a bunch of ways you can get information about our parks and recreation across the city and the county. But again, thanks again,
No
Michael,
problem.
for being
I appreciate
here.
y'all having us.
Well, thank you.
Take care. There you go.